Coming up on WUFT Midday, with less than 24 hours till Election Day, how and where candidates are closing their campaigns out. Plus, the Department of Justice is selecting certain states to monitor for election fraudulence. We'll tell you which states they're looking at. And a fight broke out before Florida's loss to Georgia this weekend. What witnesses are saying about the game's location. WUFT Midday starts now.
Watching WUFT Midday.
Experts think this election could be decided by just tens of thousands of votes cast in those swing states. Both campaigns have said getting to the Oval Office will be almost impossible without a win in Pennsylvania. I'm Emma Pastis. This is WUFT Midday. Thanks for joining us. The candidates are making their final pitch to voters who could decide who wins the White House.
The race for the White House now an all-out sprint with no clear leader. In the latest and last NBC News national poll ahead of Tuesday's vote, Vice President Harris and former President Trump each getting support from 49% of registered voters.
So we got to get our country straightened out or we're not going to have a country. All right, that's all.
Both closing out their campaigns in a half dozen or so swing states that could ultimately determine who wins the White House.
I see voters standing together to defend freedom. This moment in our nation has to be about so much more than partisan politics.
Gold and amber leaves frame the Pennsylvania countryside, but make no mistake, Bucks County, like so many in this state, is purple, split between Republicans and Democrats. The signs of how close the campaign is here are everywhere.
Yeah, I feel like from my lens, like the signage at least seems pretty split. Yeah, I would say that.
Along the sidelines of a youth soccer match, parents understand the role their community could play in the political game. Some unsure if they'll know the final score when the polls close tomorrow night.
No, I won't be staying up late Tuesday night. I don't think it'll be decided Tuesday night. I think we'll have to wait.
Officials in Pennsylvania warning the count could take days here. Jay Gray, NBC News, Doylestown.
Early voting ended Sunday. Florida's Division of Elections website shows more than 8 million voters cast their ballots during this early voting period. Long lines of voters were spotted over the weekend, and polling facilities will reopen tomorrow morning. As early as 8 a.m. Nearly 2.8 million Floridians have had their vote-by-mail ballot cast. 5.3 million Floridians voted early, including those who voted early in person as well as those who voted early by mail. NBC News Director of Elections John Lipinski spoke about how long it could take to get the final count in battleground states.
In other states, states like Florida and Texas, those are states that actually have split poll closes, and what that means is that part of the state closes earlier and then part of the state closes later. So in Florida, for example, a lot of the state closes at 7 o'clock. So by the time the 8 o'clock poll close comes, we might have 80% of the vote, and that might be enough to actually project a state like Florida.
Nearly 2.5 million of the early voters were registered Republicans, while about 1.5 million were Democrats. And just over 1.1 million had no party affiliation in Florida. In Alachua County, there will be 64 precincts opening tomorrow starting at 8 a.m. In Marion County, you can take your pick of 108 available precincts. You can look up your closest voting location on Florida's Divisions of Elections website. The Justice Department says it's sending election monitors to 86 counties in 27 states on Tuesday to ensure the integrity of the general election. That's 49% more monitors since 2020 and the most in 2 decades. The announcement comes amid growing concerns of potential voter suppression at election sites. All 7 of the contested swing states are on the Justice Department's list, along with a mix of dominantly red and blue states. Officials in some red states are pushing back. The Secretaries of State in Florida and Missouri said federal monitors will not be allowed access to voting locations in their states. Since the Voting Rights Act of 1965, the Justice Department has dispatched government officials to voting sites to prevent unlawful partisan interference. An altercation between a fan and officers was caught on social media from this weekend's Florida-Georgia game. The footage is prompting some fans to request a new location for the yearly tradition. One UGA fan from Savannah said he saw Jacksonville Sheriff's Office deputies punch and tase a man in front of his 2 children when questioned about digital tickets. Jeremy Williamson, the fan, said he saw event staff come up with 2 officers before things had escalated.
He tases him multiple times, and then he pulls out his handcuffs. He wraps the handcuffs around his knuckles like brass knuckles, and he starts to beat the guy over the head.
During the weekend's rivalry game, witnesses said the man and his family were not being loud or rowdy. In other news, a man is dead in St. Johns County following a fatal crash last night. FHP troopers said a 60-year-old Jacksonville man was traveling north on State Road A1A when he suffered from a medical episode. He veered off the side of the roadway into the grass before hitting a concrete duck gutter pipe. Investigators said he was not wearing a seatbelt. A victim in Friday's deadly shooting in Orlando is speaking out about the terrifying incident that left 2 people dead and 7 wounded. A 17-year-old has been arrested in connection with the shooting, but a motive is not yet known. The victim says he is thankful to be alive. Treasure Roberts reports.
You're not thinking it's going to happen to you until it just does.
20-year-old Anthony Berry was fortunate enough to walk away from the hospital with just a few stitches in his head after he was shot overnight in downtown Orlando. Berry says he and his friends were walking around checking out all the cool Halloween costumes when he noticed the suspect, 17-year-old Jalen Edgar, pushing through the large crowd.
He started getting aggressive, verbally increasing his tone of voice.
Next thing you know,
he pulls out, just hand motion like that, very quickly.
That's when Berry ducked.
Boom! I just saw a light flash. Then I just feel like my head a little heated. Like that's what it felt like. The wind touched my scalp. Like, whoa, I got hair. I'm not bald yet.
The aspiring nurse immediately grabbed his shirt and held it to the wound to stop the bleeding. Dr. Joseph Ibrahim got the mass casualty call early Friday morning and came into Orlando Regional Medical Center to treat the wounded.
Of course you think, not again.
The doctor says Berry got lucky. Just a centimeter difference could have changed the outcome.
I mean, there's really not much protection there, just skin in the skull, and then that's it. And otherwise, it's a much different day for him.
Berry is thankful.
After it happened, the first thing I did was thank God I was still here. It means I have another opportunity to achieve my goals in life.
Even after experiencing a big scare, he continues to smile,
I'm so sorry.
laugh, and lead with positivity.
Just be positive, just love people, enjoy life. It could end instantly.
In Orlando, Treasure Roberts getting results, News 6.
Alachua County School Board officials will meet tonight to discuss candidates for the new superintendent. The board had a split vote to terminate Superintendent Shane Andrew last week. After 2 brief recesses and 2 hours of discussion, board members tabled the discussion of who should replace him. They'll decide on it tonight at 6:30 p.m. at the ACPS District Office Boardroom. Gasoline prices in Ocala have dropped by 11.2 cents per gallon over the past week. That's according to Gas Buddy's survey of 182 stations in the area. This decline reflects average gas prices that have fallen 2.2 cents per gallon in the last week. Take a look at today's prices. AAA spokesperson Mark Jenkins says that Florida gas prices are at their lowest levels since January 2024, noting that over 60% of Florida stations were below $3 a gallon over the weekend. The highest prices are in Boca Raton at $3.20 per gallon, while the lowest are in Fort Walton Beach at $2.78. To save on gas, AAA recommends combining errands and driving carefully to improve fuel efficiency. And now taking a look at I-75, it appears to be pretty congested today in Marion County, but if you're heading southbound, you might want to take an alternate route. Now let's toss it over to UF forecaster Nicole Borman. Nicole, it was nice and chilly this morning. What can I expect for the rest of the week?
Yeah, Emma, I actually slept like a baby last night with our extra hour of sleep, and having that chilly vibe, ooh, I slept great, but we shouldn't be seeing any more of our rain and our colder weather until later on into the week. Right now, we're seeing some heavier clouds over Century Tower and over the stadium. Temperatures right now actually are at 83, but feel like 77 with that wind coming in from the east. But those showers shouldn't be affecting us too much into this afternoon. We can see that those drizzles really aren't affecting us too highly here in north central Florida, but we could be seeing more of that on Wednesday and Thursday. But even though we did take a big break from our storms this season, at least over here at the Atlantic, we are seeing that there might be a possibility of a new tropical storm developing in the tropics, but shouldn't be affecting us here directly in Florida. So we can see it right here developing over in the Gulf, making it bigger in the Gulf of Mexico, hitting Cuba, but should be hitting more towards the west, towards Texas and Louisiana, not here directly in Florida. But we could be seeing some outer bands of that storm affecting us. Shouldn't be developing to anything higher than a tropical storm. We can see it as later on in today. We can see as those showers continue to pass over us, really not affecting us too highly, but we might be seeing a little bit of that rain into our afternoon and into Tuesday morning. But we should be seeing it a lot heavier later on in the week on Thursday and on Wednesday. We can see right now as those outer bands hit us right as the storm is about to pass through and then continue to clear up into later into the week. But right now, temperatures are looking pretty nice. We're seeing 82 in Gainesville, 83 in Ocala, and 84 in the Villages. Really nice, sitting in those mid to lower 80s throughout the week. And for the rest of the day, we could be seeing a little bit of a dip into our afternoon with those lower chances of showers, but nothing too extreme. You could be dressing the exact same for the entire day without needing a jacket. And for the weekend, it's going to be getting a little bit warmer. We're seeing those mid 80s, not really dropping into anything lower. If you're wherever you're watching the Texas game from, I would just have on your normal gator gear for those days. And for our 7-day outlook, we're seeing the temperature rise a little bit tomorrow into those upper 80s, but then continue to stay consistent in those mid to lower 80s throughout the week, and with those heavier showers coming in on Wednesday and Thursday.
Pregnancy cravings are well known for leading expecting mothers to satisfy their sweet tooth, but a new study says pregnant women should curb their sugar intake. Researchers found reducing sugar during pregnancy and up to age 2 may cut a child's risk of chronic illnesses in adulthood.
It's one of the most common neurological diseases, epilepsy.
Specifically, it decreased the risk of type 2 diabetes by about 35%. It also dropped the risk of blood pressure by about 20%. Researchers looked at data from before and after the end of the UK's World War II era sugar rationing. The study was published Friday in the journal Science. Analysts say the Boeing strike is significant enough that it put a temporary dent in Friday's jobs report. It's also affecting global travel as airlines await new planes. Striking Boeing workers are voting today on the company's latest contract offer. They're deciding whether to continue what has become the costliest strike for the U.S. economy this century. The new deal involves a 38% raise over 4 years. That's up from an offer of 35% last month, but still shy of the union's original demand of 40%. Boeing's also offering a ratification bonus of up to $12,000. Some workers seem ready to accept it, but others are holding out for a pension. Now let's get over to WUFT First at 5 anchor Alex Land with a look at what's coming up on First at 5 on Channel 5.
Thanks, Emma. Here are the top stories we're working to bring you tonight. We have a team covering the Alachua County School Board meeting today. This is following the firing of Superintendent Shane Andrew. We'll have the updates on a new interim superintendent coming up. And if you need any last-minute information before voting day tomorrow, we'll be covering key policies for both candidates. And Alachua County is adding new polling places and transportation to get there. That's all for your First at 5 preview. I'm Alex Land. See you tonight.
Before we go, let's take one last check on the weather. What can I expect for the rest of the day and week, Nicole?
Well, it should be getting a little bit warmer this week. Even though we are in November, we're still seeing those mid to lower 80 temperatures, but we are seeing a little bit of heavier rain happening on Wednesday and Thursday, so be sure to keep an umbrella on deck with you. But it should be clearing up for Saturday and Sunday wherever you're planning to watch the Florida-Texas game. But those temperatures are going to be staying pretty same throughout the rest of the week.
Thank you for joining us for WUFT Midday. We're back here tomorrow for another edition. We now join Sports Scene with Steve Russell live on WRUF Radio and right here on WRUF-TV Channel 6.